Another beautiful day on the farm. Mediocre Industries getting back to work. We're right to it. Today's a big day. It's a day where I finally dial in what feels like a time scale that I'm happy with. I think this month is going to be a little bit long just because I set it too long to begin with, and it'll take me a little bit of time to sort that out. But I can deal with that. I can work around it. And in today's video, I will also make a huge decision that is going to end up with some big ramifications, both positive and expensive. But it is going to push my farm forward. The day begins like any other, and just like I think I would do in real life. Wake up, take my little side by side down, and check on the animals and make sure they're fed, make sure they have water, make sure they're healthy, make sure there's nothing I need to do. I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather waking up at the crack of dawn and just walking the field, walking the pasture, looking at his animals, looking at his crops. I didn't get it back then, but now it makes sense. Everything's looking good here. Chickens are producing, sheep are producing wool, cows seem happy. So now it's time for the basic chores. I actually forgot to water one of the garden plots at first, which meant it stopped producing, which is going to hamper my income for this month. Not a lot, but a silly mistake that I can't believe I let myself do. I took a look at the lineup of contracts available, and none of them seemed worth it to me at all. I still have this plowing contract going on. It's going to run the entire day, and I feel like with a time scale that's actually about accurate. I feel like it would take a full day, nearly, to plow an entire field. I should know this. I know my grandpa did it, but I only came back during the summer when it was already growing. I didn't see the prep work. I did outsource that one. I've got an AI worker running that plowing job. If I really run out of things to do, I might take it over. But spending that much time plowing one field isn't that interesting to me. So, taking a look at these contracts, they're all relatively small, especially when you consider I would need to lease the equipment and then pay a worker to do a lot of the work. Returns here just don't make sense. I think I want to see a contract pay me at least $5,000 before I end up taking it. Like I said in previous videos in the past, I would take any contract that would come up. I would literally set my time scale to 0.5x just so I could do all the contracts and squeeze out every last dollar. But again, if you're doing that, that's functionally cheating, which, well, I guess cheating is the wrong word. It's manipulating the game to be unrealistic, and that's not why I'm playing. If I'm doing that, I should just put on an infinite money mod and buy everything and just go nuts. That's not what I'm trying to achieve. So I started off today's play at 5x timescale. I actually move it up to 6x halfway through, simply because I think 5x is still going to be a bit too slow. Again, the goal is to roughly land on what will be realistic in a day. I shouldn't be ending my days at 1 or 2 o'clock with nothing else to do. With no new contracts, the only real thing to do is get my goods sold at the farmer's market. And once that's finished, the day is going to be done pretty quick. Now, I had a tough decision here of do I hang on to my wool and sell at a higher price later on, or do I get the money now? I'm not at a point where I can be hoarding goods to sell at a better price 8 months from now, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that along and send it through. Now, once these goods get sold, which I gotta say that for a living, for a subsistence living, this money would be fantastic. But for what I want to achieve, it really is a slow way to do it. So I might end up regretting this, but I really want to get a field, and I did some research on this. Now, in my previous farming simulator run, I went straight to canola because I wanted to get an easy production line owned and purchased, and my plan was to get canola, get the oil factory. This is back in Farming Simulator 22. Anyway, get that factory, and then feel like I was a real badass, a real magnate. However, the amount of money I would need to get the apparatus set up in here is absurd. To produce canola, I would need a cultivator, a planter, a weeder, fertilizer, and of course a tractor to pull it all. And then, of course, the harvester, which I'm sure would cost at least $250,000, on top of a field big enough to make it worth it. And then, of course, I'm bound by seasons, and I don't know them in that game well enough. When I played in the past, I didn't use season restrictions, which meant I just played the most profitable crop. And once again, that's a boring way to play because it's nowhere close to reality. You don't get any of the variety that comes with actual farming. I get it's a video game, but I want to keep some semblance of realism. That's why I play. I didn't know this before, and I feel silly, but turns out grass is a real steady profit machine. I'm not going to get rich off of it, but considering I'm raising sheep and cows, the ability to grow grass and then make that into hay seems really obvious. And grass grows perpetually, no seeding. This field's already been planted, so it seems like a really obvious choice. Now, let me tell you, just like in real life, I will come to find out that I grossly misunderestimated the costs on this. I started off with just over 80 grand in the bank, and I said, oh, that should be fine. I'm sure I'll be able to afford most of it with just a small loan. But I'm going to end up, I think, like 70 grand in debt here, without even buying the last piece, which is the trailer to haul the bales once it's done. And I even forgot along the way that I would need a tedder. And tedders aren't crazy expensive, but then I do have to hit that tough choice of, do I buy the very cheapest version, which is going to make things more difficult, or do I spend a little more for a more moderate upgrade that's going to make a big difference in my output? I chose the moderate version that costs a little more. We'll find out if I regret it. That big plowing contract that I had finished up, which did give me a nice chunk of change, but I still spent far more than I probably should have to get my grass operation up and running. I think my sheep and cows will have enough hay to last them for a long time. I'll have to go double check and see how much they've eaten to decide if I want to sell some of this hay or store a bunch and get a backlog and then sell whatever's extra later on. So I get the rewarding work of mowing grass, using the tedder and using the windrower. I let the AI do some of this work, specifically the tedding and the windrower. It turns out, a bad decision to let them do the windrower because they chose the goofiest pattern. Windrower seems like a very easy tool, just drive in straight lines. No, they wanted to make a really funny box that I wasn't stuck with, I guess. That's going to be fun to bail later on. I can't believe that I let myself get the wrong kind of mower attachment. I should have known when I had to back up into it or back around it to pick it up rather than back up into it like normal. But I drove up to the field, tried to use it, realized it was the wrong one, had to sell it for a 3K loss and buy the correct one. Felt dumb, but that's the kind of thing that I might do in real life, so it's good to experience. It feels good in this run to actually have done work into the afternoon. 6x might actually be the way to go going forward, we'll see. But as I approach the end of this video, getting ready to bale the hay, I'm excited to see how long it takes me to bale and transport, and how much hay this produces. I might even sell just one bale if I have two, to get a sense of the money I can make, and if it's a good amount, maybe I just buy another field and get more grass and speed that up. But there I go, already getting out of hand. I gotta dial this back. I gotta get out of debt. I have watched too much Dave Ramsey to fall for this. At any rate, that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for joining me as we work on the farm and pin down the right pieces to keep it real. It's a wonderful change of pace to play this game without feeling frantic. I'm glad you enjoy it. Subscribe if you can. Hope to see you next time either way. On behalf of all of us here at Mediocre Industries, have a great day.